For the boys.
The boys. sit in a chair all day.
Stand in a chair.
Yeah, don't you stand in your chair.
What decides if done is better than perfect?
I want to disagree with you.
It's like,
we need to
let's have
break
this-
to that like screen.
I'm Pilfer Pup on YouTube. Hello. My primary focus, or I guess my background, was more in illustration. I did a lot of teaching and made children's books and whatnot.
Yes.
Beyond that, I'm studying animation, and I'm trying to practice that as much as possible to make YouTube episodes for all these characters that I draw and design.
And what are we drawing today?
Today, we're drawing some of the characters from those children's books. This is Little Pup right here. He's a little doggo. He's a good boy. And I'm just practicing like facial expressions and different poses for him. I have some ideas for more illustrated variants of these characters where they all have 3D glasses on and they're all watching a movie together and you see their different personalities.
Yes.
But I have this character down here that she's a cat that I need to practice drawing her 100 more times because I need to get down the true feeling of the character at its core and not just drawing her face every now and then.
You're really good at cats. I don't know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Pilfer is really good at everything. Let's be honest.
Okay, calm down.
Yeah.
Calm down. I appreciate it though, thank you.
Friendy, how about you tell us about yourself?
All right, so I'm Friendy or Mufu. Take your pick on the username because I don't know. And I'm just going with the flow right now and working on my indie animation project, The Power of Say, and just getting my hands dirty because I've done practically everything I could art-wise, best to my abilities. And I'm like, well, nothing's working. Let's just go to my first love, animation. So I don't know how to do it, but I'm doing it. That's it. That's the story. I could die now. Goodbye.
No,
Oh my
you
gosh.
can't. You didn't even tell us what's your channel name?
Oh, frick! My channel name is Already-ish, and I don't know if YouTube has it sticking there, but hopefully it is, because I changed my channel name like 5 dozen times.
It shows up as already-ish on my end. I see it that way.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm Perry Pictures, and I am primarily a webtoon creator. I only have one webtoon currently. I have done 2, technically speaking. I had a comic years ago that predates my webtoon, so that one's like my background, hidden lore. I also like illustrating. I run a YouTube channel. I like to teach lessons that I have learned in art and then translate them to video form so other people can pick them up. I am hoping to do more with animation. It's just so time consuming and time is not something I have nearly as much of as I would like to have. So naturally, I suggested we start a podcast. And this is session 1 for all of you out there listening. I'm doing a lot of head bobbing. Like this is new. I don't normally do that.
Very
Nobody's-
artsy of you. Everyone knows artists move a lot. Not stand in a chair. Or sit in a chair all day.
Stand in a chair.
Yeah,
all day.
don't you stand in your chair? No,
my
sit.
gosh.
I meant sit in your chair all day and just draw. That's the most aesthetic thing you can do, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Great for your cardio.
And
Have
your back.
Have you ever used a standing desk? Like the ergonomic standing desk?
No, everybody tells me to though. Like
No.
even my husband's like, you should
They're-
get one
they're
of those standing
poo-poo.
desks. Are they?
What? They're poo-poo? No way.
they're
look
not.
so
they're
good.
not. I know they're not comfortable though. You think that they are. They can be, but at the end of the day, you just want to sit. It's like the most comfortable. I mean, you never know. Maybe you do like it. Who knows?
I'm used to standing for a long period of time, but ever since I quit my retail job, I'm just like, I just sit down. I'm just like, I could be standing, but I'm not. So
Right.
I miss it.
I am not a stander. I am a sitter.
Well, that's the standard then, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, the puns. Speaking of puns, our podcast name is kind of punny, isn't it?
Oh my.
Lit table.
Palate.
It's palatable.
Palatable.
A palatable palate table.
It's
I
really
didn't even
creative,
catch that.
honestly.
I figured we're pretty palatable YouTubers. I think the art niche is pretty chill. I do occasionally get toxic art trends or things that are
Drama.
happening now. Drama, yeah. And I follow a couple channels that do give me like the tea on the drama, but I don't engage in it too much. And I don't think there's too much to engage in, if I'm being honest. I think we're a pretty live, laugh, love sort of niche.
Right.
Stay out of that stuff, you're good. It's easy to get out of it and stay out of it. But you can watch from the sideline with popcorn, that's fine. Just don't engage.
I think between the three of us, our channels are pretty neutral. Yeah, I would say we're pretty palatable. But, you know, also, like, I don't want to box us in because I know that we're all growing. We want to have space to move into any topic or conversations without feeling like that's not my brand.
I think it'd be okay. We're all adults. We know how to talk it out. But like, if we don't agree with one art thing or another, or even like the meaning behind certain things, it's fine. We can evolve past it. I'm sure people will get that, hopefully.
In terms of all the drama of the art stuff, there's not a lot in the art space. I guess maybe between certain artists there would be, but it would be more hidden because there's also ego tied to art. And because of that, you don't want to spread your ego somewhere that it could be like objectified by their audience and vice versa, because that also cuts ties with other artists that you might meet along the way. So it becomes very hidden, very subtle, but you can see that it's there and it seeps out just a little bit. Just a little bit that like people catch on, but nobody says anything there.
Unless you're on Twitter. Seen a lot of that kind of stuff on Twitter.
I stay off Twitter.
You almost have to have an ego to be an artist because you're standing alone with like just your skill. And that's what represents you as a person, unless you're making it a brand. And once it's the brand, it's a business. It's no longer you as an artist. It's this business that you're running, and you're the factory behind it. You're just like, oh, as money coming in, that's all that matters. Whereas the other 99% of artists that are like, here's this big idea I have that I want the world to see. You have to have this ego of, oh, I'm selfish. I'm going to make this no matter what. And world be damned, family be damned, friends be damned. I'm in this alone.
That is such a big topic. A big topic.
Who else is gonna do it though? The companies?
Right.
Unless you have like a big support behind you. You've been posting on that like, I own an art shop, please buy from me grind. Those kind of people, they are familiar with marketing, right? So they know all that stuff already, and they're using that to their full advantage, and that builds up their ego. Like, yeah, I am doing this, and then the audience backs them up on that, and so they get even more of an ego. But that could be any artist. I'd like to think we're all humble, so
it can be a little bit of a internal struggle between what you were saying, we're humble, but also what Pilfer was saying, where it's like, but you have to be a little bit selfish and stubborn to pursue your ideas. Like you said, if you don't do it, it's not going to get done.
Do you know what is that one animation thing that the guy died for? It practically died for. It was the one with like Aladdin, but it's not Aladdin.
Yeah, it's the prince and the
cobbler. The cobbler.
Yeah.
That guy did it his whole life, and that was his passion project, and he didn't finish it. He had so many opportunities to finish it too, and he just did it because he was a perfectionist. It's just one of those things, you've got to get it done no matter what, even if you die. But at the same time, opportunities arise. Don't be a perfectionist.
Done is better than perfect, because perfect is never done.
That goes into the value proposition then of what decides if done is better than perfect, or if perfect is more valuable to you.
Done is better than perfect.
Is it though? Because who decides that?
There's the second half of it. It's done is better than perfect because perfect is never done. That's the whole phrase.
Yes, but perfect can be like a tangible thing to some people. Back when I was doing more like illustration over animation, when I would get a commission, I would work that thing into oblivion until it was literally perfect to me, like exactly how I envisioned it. And it would take like 170 hours, which equates to like 2 cents per hour that I'm working or something. But I look back at those and I'm still proud. I have 2 of them up on my wall from that time, and there's others that I'm going to get matte printed. And they're from a decade ago. And I'm still like, this still looks so good. At the end of the day, it's like I could have 10 pieces that people saw and loved me for, or I can have 1 piece that I look back and I'm so proud of and happy with.
You just said you have 2 on your wall.
Right.
When you're capable of finishing it, then that's the best version of what you can do. And you did it.
Right.
I think these analogies are intended for people who are procrastinating because it's not perfect. And if you're going to procrastinate to the point of never doing the thing, then it's better to have done a poor job of it and finished it and learned from it than to have never done it at all. So I think that's the intention there. But in your case, you're talking about doing your best work. And as long as you are able to keep up that momentum and keep producing, terrific.
I think people just need to be satisfied with what they can do. Just hanging up that picture on the wall, that's not like, oh, I like that character, or oh, that's a reminder of how much money I made. It's a reminder to him that, like, it's what he can do, right? I feel that same way about the pictures I drew with my OCs back in middle school that are half done, and I love them to death. I still feel like that with those characters and that drawing, and it's like, wow, I really nailed this or that, and I can come back to it and be like, yeah, that's really cool. But I'm satisfied with it. It just comes down to the person. Am I satisfied with what I can do? And is it showable? It's better than not being shown, because otherwise, how is your art going to speak to others, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, then I guess that gets into, why are you making art? I could say without a doubt that the reality is that I'm making my art for me more than I am for like anyone else. And if other people want to experience that along with me, go on whatever that ride is, whatever this theme park is of ideas, they're welcome to. It's all just this stuff that I want to share of like my grandiose ideas, whereas other people want to make stuff for other people. They want to like entertain. There's plenty of stories in the industry where we'll use God of War, for example. That was made with the intention of like, this is the game I want to play, so I'm gonna make it, and it's huge. It's like such a big brand IP because this group knew what they wanted. And the same thing can work, or you can go the opposite route, like Disney, which is, what is the biggest net we can make to get the most people? Well, which of these two is like more beloved? It's, you know, like God of War is spoken of so positively, and then like Disney content is like, oh, what happened to them?
Oh gosh, how long has Disney been around? Like 70, no wait, it's been around for 100 years. I think after 100 years and being that massive, you're going to get some haters. Because if you think about Disney when we were like 10 years old, I mean, it might have been that nobody was telling a 10-year-old that they hated Disney, but I don't remember anybody hating Disney when I was 10. Everybody loved that stuff.
I do remember it was mostly seen as something for girls because, like, there was like Beauty and the Beast,
princesses.
Bambi, which is about cute animals. You know,
But
all these
you
like.
can't
really
deny
cute
Aladdin
things.
was for the boys, though. My brother was all about Aladdin.
For the boys.
The boys.
Yeah, and then I guess as people
Treasure
became
Planet.
more honest, yeah,
Is
with
Treasure
their
Planet
emotions,
Disney?
Disney's like kind of like, oh yeah, I always liked Disney. It's like, okay, I remember you in middle school saying it was for babies.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's been around for more than 2 decades is going to start getting hate just because it's trendy to hate on stuff that too many people love. Just because there's always going to be people who are quirky and different and, you know, not like other girls. So it's going to happen.
Or boys.
Yeah, not like other boys.
Or boys. I'm just kidding. So, back to being an artist in general, I was going to say, with completing projects and what decides when something is done? What decides when you should just get it done and move on? Where does that lie in the timeline of a project? Because there's plenty of work in progress that will get finished a year later that I've created.
Yeah.
And now a part of me would say, oh, you should have finished that, moved on. Maybe yes, maybe no. A part of me would say, when the time is right, I'll come back to that idea and I'll complete it with my newfound skills that I got from starting 100 other projects or work in progresses along the way. To me, at least, everybody thinks differently as an artist, but this idea of like, oh, you should just complete things for the sake of moving on or completing or have something under your belt to complete. I think there is discipline in knowing when to complete a project to make sure that it's time to move on. It's time to be strong, you know, finish that 10%, because they always say the last 10% is the hardest. Mm-hmm. So you have to finish something. You can't just not finish something. That's not the point. But You have to grow that discipline. Like, yes, people can push you, and I think that is like helpful. But at the end of the day, the artist needs to get used to like that self-discipline of, I have to put in the work now. This is when I start taking myself seriously as an artist and as a professional. It would be better for growth to have a deadline, because now I got to push myself, and that's what everybody in the industry would have to do as well. But nobody else can make that switch for that individual artist. If I get sick, you know, I'm going to dive in vomiting on my keyboard while I'm finished this, which I had a friend who did that, by the way. She was struggling with this big art piece, her final for her bachelor's degree in art in college, and she couldn't figure out how to complete this. And she got so pent up over the struggle of like, how do I make this something that's going to like blow people away? She threw up. And then she took it and she wiped it on the canvas and finished the piece. Yeah, super gross, but it's a statement about like the struggle of this soul-crushing need to explore the inner self and present it to others. And that's exactly what she did. She took a moment of time. Yeah, exactly, literally. And she won like this award for it in her college, and she got like all this money, whatever. But that's like part of learning to just like dive in to do this.
That's an incredible story. Now, if it was intentional, it would seem a little performative, but the fact that she was so worked up, the anxiety and the nerves caused her to throw up, and then she was like, this is a part of my story, and added it to the canvas. I think that's pretty remarkable. I do want to disagree with you a little bit on the grounds that each person is obviously different, and we're all going to experience stuff a little differently and be motivated in different areas. As somebody who has a very different philosophy on when and how to finish stuff, I do just kind of want to give like a second perspective. I'm not saying that yours is wrong. I just want to add to that. I am very schedule oriented. I am driven by blocking out my time and by knowing what my commitments are and when I need to complete them by. And when I have that information, I'm then able to prioritize. And I think being able to prioritize when to do something is such an important but invisible piece of the process when it comes to being a creative, especially if your creativity is not your day job, because then you don't know where it really fits into your life, and you're kind of like trying to squeeze it in all the free time that you have. And free time, it's easy to mismanage. It's easy to misuse or not realize when you're in it. And then when it's gone, to look back and be like, wow, I wish I would have used that time better. So I feel like when it comes to your projects or your passions or whatever it is that you're trying to work on, it is important to be like, I need to do this at these times or by this time, and I want to be done here so that I can move on to priority 2 or whatever priority 2 might be. For somebody who thinks like I do and who is motivated the way that I am, done is better than perfect. That phrase is like super precious to me, because I feel like I would get absolutely nothing done if I let my perfectionism control me. If you guys have watched my art haul video where I go through all the drawers of all the art stuff I had as a kid, I go through every drawer and I show you every art supply all the way back to my early childhood coloring books, and not a single piece is used and not a single coloring book page is colored. I just hoarded this stuff and I kept it my entire life, and I never used it out of fear of not doing a good job, of not being good at art. I'm an art YouTuber now as an adult, which is crazy because when I was a kid, I loved art. I would draw on like homework paper. Yeah. I would draw on everything but my precious art supplies because I didn't want to ruin them. So I've had to learn what works for me and to get past all of that. I wasted my entire childhood, like from the first coloring book till I graduated high school and went into the military. Even though every Christmas somebody was giving me an art kit. They knew I loved it, but I wasn't using it. And that's the sad reality. There are people who are like me, who are just so terrified to not do a perfect job that they won't do it at all. So if you're listening to this and you're like, that's me, that's why I haven't started my million ideas that I'm telling people about all the time, but then I never do it because I'm scared. For you, for somebody like that, for me, done is better than perfect. And giving yourself a window of time dedicated specifically to that thing that you want to do is important, because you're going to let the clutter of everything else, all the other priorities in your life, get in the way of ever starting that project, of ever working on it, if you don't make a dedicated time for it. And then when it's time to be done with it, be done with it. If you're running a little bit over, okay, that's fine. Be flexible with yourself. Let yourself run over to finish it, but finish it. That way you can move on to the other stuff that you have. Like, you've got a million ideas, we all do. You're not going to get to those other ideas if you're afraid to make even a single mistake.
I'm more motivated by the morality of time. Again, time is finite. We're just little grains of dot just trying to draw on a piece of paper. So I could be dead tomorrow. And like, where are all those projects? You know, are they done enough that someone else could pick them up or something like that? I know it's kind of like morbid or whatever, but I just kind of think about that. If I don't get these characters talking, how is anybody else gonna see them? And it's just trying to get it out there so other people can enjoy. Not just me, I love them too, but I have made stories where it's just for me, and I have made stories where I know it's marketable, and I'm like, okay, I know that's gonna speak to somebody, not just me. So going back to like, I guess the God of War thing, or Disney, they literally pitch things as, oh, this is like this and this story, and then they go on and be like, okay, we want that, but not the exact thing, because that's straight up copying. So if they can make something at least a little bit similar and just change the hair color and just change one story beat, and it's a completely different thing. It's, you don't really need to be perfect. It's a nice thought to be, but again, we don't know when we're gonna die. I'm sorry, I had a death in the family recently, so I'm just like, it's on the line. Oh, no, it's fine. I burnt bridges, am I right? So it's just trying to like get things done so you have a legacy if you don't have a child. You know what I mean?
I feel like we have the two types of artists in the room with us right now. Pilfer's like, I draw for me, and Friendy's like, I draw to be seen. So it's like what Pilfer was saying earlier.
Yeah.
A good thing that I think we all agree on is no matter what, the work needs to get done as frequently as possible in a healthy way. I do think taking your own limits into account is something that is very important. Something that I had to learn like way later, like barely within the last 2 years, is we all have limits, which is why if you sit down and you're not working on something and all you can think about is how much you're not working on it and how much you want to, then there's a much bigger issue that needs to be resolved. And it's not your inability or you're lazy or not disciplined enough. It's something probably psychological or emotional that's tied to you being productive, and you need to get that resolved. A big part of, in my opinion, resolving that is, for one, exercising, big deal. Water, big deal. Taking care of your physical self amplifies your emotional self. And the best analogy for that is like going into a video game. I know I use a lot of video game references. Going into a video game, fighting a boss with a bunch of debuffs. Your character's got reduced HP because you didn't eat. You didn't get your protein for the day, whatever. You get like reduced magic spell power because you never exercise, right? And so it's like, it's all these reduced things. And at the end of the day, you are still a body with like emotions in it. And you have to take care of the body if you want the rest to work out correctly. And that's something I learned much later. And because of that, I'm able to be more consistent, which goes into the next thing, which is figuring out a reasonable amount of time every single day that you can work on this thing that is your craft, no matter what. And that will build multiplicatively or exponentially over time, because you need to learn that discipline of, this is an amount of time that no matter what, I'm not going to stop until it's done. And it could be 10 minutes. Everybody can do 10 minutes. I don't care what the excuse is. Everybody can find 10 minutes in a day. You can push everything else aside for 10 singular minutes to bring out a pen and
grab
paper.
A sticky note. If you are feeling like you really can't draw for the 10 minutes or the 5 minutes, it might be that you're overwhelmed by the scale of the drawing you're thinking about doing. Grab a sticky note. Draw on that.
And if you feel like you have art block, then the next thing to do, and I tell this to all my students, it gets the ball rolling. And if it doesn't get the ball rolling, then there's a step after this that'll help too. The first step is, if you have art block and you can't think of anything to draw, start practicing drawing shapes, just simple shapes. You can draw a triangle without any effort. Super easy. Now you draw a pyramid because you need to practice perspective and three-dimensional objects. Easy. If you can't do that, choose literally anything around you that's within like eyesight and draw it as poorly as possible, because then you're removing any like skill necessity from this idea of practice. The whole purpose is just to have you drawing for those 10 minutes. Eventually it's good to get to an hour. I think hour's like the sweet spot for everybody. 1 hour a day over a year, 365 hours, that's a third of your 1,000-hour goal to get to the 10,000 hours of being a master. You'll get to those 10,000 hours at this rate, whereas before you wouldn't, because sitting down to even work at all is just something that wouldn't happen. As you get that ball rolling, it becomes easier, and I'm very adamant about this because it was something that I learned way too late and I wish I had learned earlier, and it would have changed everything. And you could like see where I'm at now because of just this daily practice of 10 minutes to eventually an hour.
Feel like that would work too if you're struggling to get up and exercise, really struggling. Go for a 10-minute walk. Start there.
Around the block is like
just
so
a walk.
Small.
Yeah.
It really adds up all that.
It makes
really
such
does.
a difference. I love that you brought up that stuff. We talked about it's important to finish, but then you talked about how to even get started if you can't get started. Like you need to be healthy. You need to be hydrated. You need to be moving your body so that you're getting those endorphins or whatever. I'm not a scientist, okay? But like, we all kind of understand that in order for our brain to de-stress, we need to release. And part of that release is leaving the space that you're in. We started this podcast talking about sitting too much. You got to leave that space and let your brain release whatever you're clinging to, whatever you're wrapping yourself up in, the chains of all your thoughts, and you need to walk away from them for a little while and let yourself kind of reset, and you'll be able to work better and stay healthy. Now let's talk about what you're drawing, because you're starting something new.
I'm still practicing cats because I want to get this character down. Okay, I need to turn that off. I want to get this character
Which
down.
one are you talking about?
Both. I'm talking about both. I need to get this character down, but I have to practice drawing cats, different cats, to get like the subtleties and the expression that I want to make a regularity in this character and like their personality. In the same way you would have a color palette for an illustration, you want the characters to represent those colors in whatever show, which I think is super important because you watch a show, you can watch any show. Somebody give me a show.
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. Okay, there's like Scooby, Velma, Alvin, Simon. I'm just kidding. There's Scooby, Velma, Shaggy, Fred, and what's the girl's name? The fifth character.
Daphne.
Daphne, yes. Those are all different colors. Their personalities represent this like variation of things, whereas Shaggy's like a dumb yellow. Scooby's probably like an orange because it's like next to yellow, but he's more in the scene, taking up that space, so he'd be closer to red. Whereas Velma takes up that space of being the scene, because she's like so dramatic. Oh, my glasses. Oh, no. Everything's wrong. She'd be the red. However, because there's only 5 characters, they're always going to be in the show together. And that's like kind of the point. But you can have something like Bob's Burgers, right? Where like an episode is more around the mom and like one of the daughters, and the other characters are kind of there in the background. So that color palette's a little bit more muted on the other colors. Whereas the stronger colors like the red, which would be the youngest one. And then the mom would be like kind of an orange because she's like very like energetic and like, I'm in the scene, I'm dancing now, I'm making a funny joke, you know, so that the color palette of that episode would be more towards the red. I hope this makes sense. I'm just using like crazy analogies of colors to explain personalities.
I feel like we're getting a really good sense of how you feel about yellow and orange. Our associations with color can vary. I think I get what you're saying. Color is more used in illustration and visual media as an identifier primarily. Like you're like, I identify this character by this. This is their color palette. This is their outfit that they wear every single day. Just like in a Disney movie, it's like, it doesn't matter how many days have passed, they're wearing the same thing. But color association's a little bit more fluid. I feel like we should explore color as its own episode and come with
examples.
Of what we want to point out. We haven't done a bad job off the top of our heads with like Bob's Burgers and Power Rangers and I was thinking Power Rangers. I didn't say it out loud.
Oh, you should have. That's a good example. The girls yellow and pink, and all the boys are the fun good colors. I'm just kidding.
Yellow is a good color.
I'm just kidding.
Guys know the yellow
colors.
ranger in Japan was actually a boy.
Oh my god.
Let's table
The
color for its own episode, because I think we could get a lot of mileage out of that.
That sounds good.
I have a
go ahead.
question. What are your guys' stance on the symmetry tool? Do you like it, or are you drawing it as like the eyebrows are sisters and not twins? What is your opinions on it? Because I personally, I don't like it, but I get why it's there, and there's some certain circumstances to use it, but it makes the drawing look dull. But again, it just depends on how and what you're using it for. So what are your guys' stance on the symmetry tool, and do you use it?
I mean, Pilfer's using it right now, so...
I'm literally using
That's
it.
why it came up. I remember how much I hated it.
I mean, the stage is yours. I'll weigh in after.
Okay. I think anything can be used as a good tool. That includes like tracing. That includes, the symmetry. That includes AI. If you have to, it can all be used as a tool.
Filter AI, bro. Confirmed.
No. But I think whatever helps you finalize this beautiful idea that you have in your head on the canvas and gets it out with more ease. Having more tools to do that is amazing. But finalizing your work around just that tool, I think, is like the worst idea, because the artist is as good as the experience that they've gained through the use of everything, through experiences in life, through like hardships especially. The more hardships somebody's endured and come out of like in a way that's not negative or detrimental, that's specific to that person, and only they can explore that through their art, where someone else can't. And that's something you could teach to others. That's something, when you design a character, that's going to be incorporated in whether you like it or not, because it's a part of you. Everything you create is confined to you.
Oh man,
as a person.
Pilfer. Can you see that in my art?
I can see it in everyone's art, and I try not to point it out because I don't want them thinking on it. That's the part of the
I'm just going to be thinking about it. Oh no.
Yeah, you could really see the person in the characters, and like the things they focus on are the most true versions of themselves.
I am so curious now what my art says about me. Like, what?
We'll leave that to you and your therapist. That's not my role. No, I'm just kidding. Well, it doesn't have to be something so extreme. There's a lot of subtlety to it too.
Real quick, I want to do a tangent because I got this harebrained idea maybe it was a month ago, to rewatch Saturday morning cartoons, to watch Pepper Ann. Have you guys seen Pepper Ann?
Unfortunately.
I remember the character, but not the show. I'm pulling it up.
Well,
yeah, pull it up. I loved Pepper Ann. I realized when I was watching this how much this influenced my art style. I see so much of how I draw in this show. And now, to be fair, I've never really had a noodle arm phase. Like, I've never done noodle arms, noodle legs. But you see the way the clothing is drawn, how there's always like the 3D edge, so you can see inside the sleeve and under the shirt and under the skirt or under the shorts, how there's always like this 3D hole. And it doesn't necessarily look very realistic. Right. But it's a style, right? Like, I think my brain saw that as a teenager and was like, now that I can replicate, that is simple enough for imitating a 3D object that I can do that. And so that made its way into my art. And it didn't occur to me until I went back and watched it like this year. It's like crazy how we absorb stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you did it subconsciously. It wasn't like a conscious decision until you realized. With me, it's just like, I want to do that, but I want to do it different and try to implement different styles in that sense. But, I mean, we're always influenced by something. Maybe I have done things subconsciously and just be like, oh, I did that. So it's interesting. It's interesting how other people see things.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think influenced your art, Friendy? What show did you watch?
Girls and old anime. Definitely old anime.
Sailor Moon.
No, not that.
What is
What is
Sakura?
it? No. It's something like old anime that you like OVAs. We used to watch, we were in the Sailor Moon phase, but Sci-Fi Channel had like those like Saturday night like OVA science fiction like anime, and you had no idea what the title was. You didn't know what the story was, but we were just there like, wow, that's art or something. There was a lot of graphic stuff in there, a lot of nudity and stuff, and shown on TV, of course, like 1996, as you do. And it's just from there I learned I really like weird things like that kind of art style, which is anime, but like it has to be like old anime-esque. And I didn't realize this, but when I was putting my webcomic out there a few years ago, people were like, oh, this gives me an old-timey film. Like, what really? Where are they getting this? And I realized, there's that subtitle text of the characters. Yep, that would do it. So
is now a good time to mention we're millennials.
yeah, we're millennials.
All millennials.
Did that just happen? Is he right behind me? Millennialcatchphrases.com, you know.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I definitely see the Powerpuff Girls influence for sure.
Definitely.
I try.
Let me see if I can bring up some of Friendy's work.
No, you don't have to. Stop. No.
Well, I was saying Powerpuff Girls and card captors because I know you're really into Pretty Cure. That's like a big influence on you, but that's more recent.
Yeah.
But I would figure that I think Pretty Cure is almost similar to the other two, aren't they? It's very about like outfits, and it's about
for sure.
like magical girls and like teen girl squad fighting the man, right?
It's like, I did have a friend in high school that gave me, for my birthday, a pamphlet of Cardcaptor Sakura character designs, and I ate that stuff up. I studied it. I really love character design sheets from Japan. I don't know what it is. It's just, they're so good and conveying what the character should be feeling in each emotion, and it's so different than, like, the character turnaround sheets over here in the West. So I find that so fascinating, and I love their style so much. That and Digimon, like Digimon was so good. The first character designer. Oh my god, I jived with that character designer.
Yeah, this is all Friendly stuff.
No, stop.
It almost reminds me of. I think it's Lisa Frank.
Yeah.
Lisa Frank.
The stickers. Yeah. You're talking about the stickers, right?
Yeah.
The Lisa Frank
stickers. Yeah.
90s,
it's got like a
early
similar...
2000s. Yeah.
Well, like, okay, all these properties are from, what is it?
Same
the
time.
80s, like the My Little Ponies and Moon Dreamers. But, like, Lisa Frank is more pop. And I don't have a lot of saturated colors yet. So, but soon.
It's funny you say that, because I think your colors are pretty saturated, but mine are really muted.
Right.
Like
if you look at my webtoon, my palette is so muted. I worry sometimes that it's borderline boring.
Oh. No, it gives a character, I think. I've seen it. I've read it. I like it.
What were we talking? Oh yeah, shows. I was really, really into Fantasia and Bambi as a kid. And this other movie, Milo and Otis. Like, nobody knows about that movie.
No, I know about that, unfortunately. Yeah,
it's like really sad. There was like a bunch of animals that died during the filming.
Oh my gosh.
Because it was before a bunch of like
they don't die in the
laws.
movie, but they died outside of the movie.
In real life.
Oh, jeez.
There's like 36 dogs, like little pugs they used to film it. And then there's like 28 cats that died in the production of this movie.
I can't handle this.
There's like a scene with like a bear, and it's like
we need to break to that like that screen that technically that one. There's like all these scenes with the cat playing with a bear, and like 8 cats died in that scene.
Oh,
and then it's like
God.
There's a scene with like the pug on a little island in the middle of the ocean. Well, 3 of them drowned just to film that scene. It's like horrible. But
they were really literally drowning cats and puppies to shoot a scene.
Not on purpose. They just so happened to drown and just so happened to get eaten by a bear. Movie's 10 out of 10. Very good. Recommend. Family-friendly movie. It's about cats and dogs just being best friends and then going on a big adventure.
Oh my gosh.
Stuff, you push that back like old family traumas. You just push that down.
It's like the Disney Lemon thing.
Disney Lemon, I want to know.
broke my brain.
Disney did this documentary where like they film like these cute little animals. I think they're called lemons. I don't know. Lemons. I don't know. Maybe I should watch.
Lemmings?
I don't know.
Lemmings?
Lemons. Yeah. They filmed them jumping off a cliff, saying, "Oh, they commit suicide as a big flock and whatever." And then they found out years later that's not what they do. Disney just killed them for the documentary and the views.
They just made them jump off the cliff.
Yeah, they have it
That's
documented.
horrible.
Find it on Disney Plus. I'm sure it's there.
I gotta watch
depending
that. Terrible.
Don't watch it.
I do remember that scene that you're speaking of, though. That was like a big deal on the Nature Channel or National Geographic back then.
I never watched it, but I played the video game Lemmings, which was obviously
awesome.
Based on that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they said it was like real up until like recently.
So how about we go back to art instead of like the crisis that is our existence?
So Pepper Ann.
This is getting into like controversial
I don't like where this is
territory.
going. I thought we were palatable, right? Like, why are we doing this?
I'm more like the gum underneath the table. I don't know
Oh my
about
gosh. No.
We should think of how do we want to wrap up the discussion. Do we have any extra points that we want to make or any thoughts on this podcasting format?
I was going to say, don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do it.
Just do it.
That's it.
The majority of the discussions was around discipline and taking care of yourself as an artist and working on your thing and when that thing is done. And so to close it out, the journey is a very long one. It's a long one and it doesn't technically end until you die. If that's like your goal is to just be an artist. I don't think being an artist should be your identity because we are all so much more than just that. We're not just people that create. We're like internally so many other things, so many other experiences. And don't let yourself be defined by one or two of those things or any labels that are popular, right? Just be whatever you need to be to continue making what it is that you love. And keep that as healthy as possible so that you can keep doing it as long as possible.
Yeah, good summation. It can feel very lonely. You don't have to do it alone. A lot of it you do have to do alone, but find your tribe. And that is the beautiful thing about being on YouTube. And we're glad that you're here with us. We found each other through YouTube, and it's been great building this friendship, the three of us, and being able to communicate with each other when we have ideas or thoughts about art, and knowing that we're speaking to somebody who speaks our language and who understands our interest and our passions and our growth and our discovery and everything that we're going through with art. And having those connections has really been very enriching for our journey as an artist. At least I will say that from my perspective, and I assume that you guys would agree. Yeah.
I don't think any of us would necessarily still be going if there weren't little like lights in each other and other people we met along the way to keep us going. Because if nobody cared, we probably wouldn't be doing any of it. But people do care because they're not just seeing our art, they're seeing like us as people. And they're seeing like, oh, I can identify with your journey.
If you don't have that support yet, if you don't have people feeding into your spark, don't give up. A lot of this conversation has been about don't give up. Keep moving forward, keep doing the thing, and, join us. Let us be your tribe. We're all here to grow together, and the three of us are here to help you guys with your art journey as well. That's kind of the entire point of this platform. So we want to be able to have these discussions to enrich your experience through sharing our combined experiences and talking about all of this. And of course, let us know in the comments your thoughts on the question. What was the question?
The question was, when is an art piece done? What decides that?
Thank you. Yes, exactly. So let us know. Comment it down below.
Yes. And if you're struggling with something, please let us know about that so we can talk about it next time, because those struggles are universal. You're not the only one in it. We're all going through it too. And I think it's really important to know how much everybody else is also struggling with that, so you don't feel so alone.
We'd love 100%.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.